This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Safe House concerns. A mother of a sex trafficking survivor speaks out after learning the organization has ties to a man facing sexual assault charges.
Looking for allies. Eastern premiers and governors meet in Boston to forge partnerships against Donald Trump's tariffs.
And Go Proud, how a new radio station in Lunenburg is amplifying 2S LGBTQ+ voices.
A beautiful stretch continues for Tuesday, but the clouds building in with a few showers mid to late week. Your full forecast is coming up.
Concerns are being raised about a Colchester County safe house. Trauma Recovery for Exploited Youth, or TRE, is a home for survivors of sex trafficking.
The founder's husband has been charged with sexual assault and sexual interference. The CBC's Francis Willick reports.
Trauma Recovery for Exploited Youth, or TRE, is a home in Colchester County where survivors of sex trafficking can go to recover. The CBC is not identifying its location because that could pose a safety risk to victims who have escaped their traffickers. The organization was started in 2016. The founder's husband, Kevin McLeod, was previously a director of the organization and has previously been deeply involved in the day-to-day operations. In October, RCMP announced that Kevin McLeod was charged with 2 counts of sexual assault and 3 counts of sexual interference. The incidents involved 3 complainants and occurred between the early 1990s and the early 2000s. The RCMP and TRE say the incidents are not connected with McLeod's volunteer work or employment. But the mother of a former resident of TRE says she still has concerns. The CBC is not identifying her because that would identify her daughter.
If you were a victim and you were in a home that you go to for a safe place, you want to know that the people that are around you and surround you are safe. And I think that it may not be a safe place.
The CBC requested interviews with Kevin McLeod and TRE. McLeod did not respond. TRE sent a statement. It said Kevin McLeod is not involved with the organization and his wife has stepped back from all TRE activities. Asked when the couple ceased to be involved, the organization said it could not answer further questions. The McLeods appeared at a TRE fundraiser in February where they participated in an ice bucket challenge. When a community member questioned the organization on social media about Kevin McLeod's appearance at the event, TRE responded that he's always been helpful in raising funds and apologized if his presence at the event caused stress. Mia Suokonautio is the CEO of the YWCA, which runs TESS, a support network for trafficking victims. She says TESS contacted TRE after it became aware of the charges and later removed TRE from its referral list.
We didn't get enough clarity for us to err on the side of safety until this issue is resolved, that we've kind of taken a step back and in this kind of abundance of precaution, because we are entrusted with this need to protect the most vulnerable Nova Scotians, and we just wanted to make sure that any referrals, at least in the interim, are completely safe.
McLeod's next court appearance is scheduled for August. Francis Willick, CBC News, Halifax.
The defense presented closing arguments Monday morning in the second-degree murder trial of Adam Drake. Drake is accused of fatally stabbing Pat Stay in a Halifax bar in September of 2022. Preston Mulligan has more.
Well, the Crown's key piece of evidence is some video surveillance that was shot inside the Yacht Club social around those moments when Pat Stay was stabbed. At that time, Pat Stay had his back to the camera, but you can see that he's in an altercation with someone. He turns around and brushes what appears to be blood from his shirt. He starts to walk away, and someone comes up behind him, punches him. At that point, he falls down, he gets back up, and then he walks out of the camera's view. Defense lawyer Michael Lacey spent most of the morning today urging the jury to disregard the video evidence simply because he says it's impossible to see who may have stabbed Pat Stay. Lacey also urged the jury to disregard a Facebook post that Adam Drake made prior to Pat Stay's murder, in which he writes, Can't wait to give you a big hug. Michael Lacey says that says nothing about what happened inside the bar the night Stay was stabbed. Lacey also showed a video of Adam Drake outside a nearby hotel in the hours after Stay's death. Lacey says Drake is wearing the same clothes he wore the night he was at the yacht club social, and that, he says, is not the behavior of a guilty man. Now, this has been a highly emotional trial, both inside and outside the courthouse here on Mellor Avenue. Even this morning, sheriffs had to reprimand members of the visiting gallery for shouting and making too much noise during the defense's closing arguments. The Crown made its closing arguments on Friday, and it's expected the judge will deliver instructions to the jury on Tuesday morning. Preston Mulligan, CBC News, Dartmouth.
A teenager accused of making threats against a Halifax high school has pleaded guilty to one of the dozens of charges he's facing. The teen was arrested at his home on April 23rd after police received a tip alleging he was going to shoot up Citadel High School and then take his own life. The teenager, whose identity is protected under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, pleaded guilty to unlawfully handling ammunition. He's facing 32 other charges, including making threats against students at Citadel High and racialized communities. He's scheduled to be back in court next month.
All right, Ryan with us now, and can we finally say we broke the streak?
Yeah, it was a lovely weekend, lovely start to the work week.
Yeah, technically, though, it did rain this weekend. So, yeah, the streak continues. But you know what? This weekend ahead, spoiler alert, looking pretty good. Fingers crossed. So have a look at our high temperatures today. It was a beautiful day today, as was Sunday across the province. Even Saturday was pretty good, wasn't it? You can see temperatures out there, ranging between the high teens, low to mid 20s. Similar story setting up for Tuesday. A stronger wind from the south to southwest. And so we will see that sea breeze setting up along the Atlantic coastline, but inland and towards the north, we're going to be back in the low to mid 20s yet again. Now, as we look into the long-range forecast, we are watching some building clouds and a few showers starting to march into the region from west to east throughout the day on Wednesday, and it will be a pretty damp mid to late week, but again, cautiously optimistic for that 7-day coming up.
I like the optimism.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Tim Houston and the other Atlantic premiers are in Boston for a meeting with some governors from the U.S. Northeast. They're discussing the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs and how to improve economic relations. The CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick reports.
The Canadian flag was on display outside the Massachusetts state legislature today, while inside, Canadian premiers and U.S. governors sat down to talk about the trade war raging between their countries. People are coming from all. The premiers of Ontario, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Prince Edward Island, along with Quebec's economic minister, came to Boston at the invitation of Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey and the other East Coast governors. The point? To discuss the impact of the tariffs on their respective jurisdictions and to talk about how they can strengthen trade ties despite the trade war. The governors acknowledged the frayed relationship between the two countries right now, and they said they understand why some Canadians are choosing to avoid travel to the U.S.
We want them to come back to our country, but we understand the anger that they feel. Our relationship suffers, and it shouldn't. And we do respect Canadians and the country, the sovereign country of Canada.
The governors of Maine, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont said the drop in tourism is having a serious impact on their economies. They want to get the message across to Canadians that they don't share the 51st state rhetoric from President Donald Trump, and they hope to see Canadians in their states soon. New Brunswick's premier had a message for Americans.
You got to make noise. You got to tell your leader that this is hurting the American economy, that this is hurting jobs in the U.S. Canadians can't pass that message for you.
These kinds of meetings have been going on between East Coast governors and premiers for decades. For this one, they said there was a sense of urgency given the trade war, and they described their discussion today as sobering and eye-opening. Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston was realistic about the impact this group can have on Trump's trade policies.
There's just certain things that are outside of our control. We can't control what people tweet in the middle of the night. But there are things that are within our control, and that's where we should work together.
So while the meetings here in Boston were focused on areas of cooperation, the governors and the premiers were saying they're keeping a close eye on the meetings in Canada between Trump and Prime Minister Mark Carney, hoping there will be some kind of resolution. Ontario Premier Doug Ford summarized his hope this way: let's get a deal. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Boston.
There is once again a two-ferry service between Nova Scotia and PEI. The MV Northumberland set sail on Saturday. It was the first time that the MV Northumberland made the crossing. It will run alongside the Confederation for the summer season. With both the Confederation and Northumberland making the crossing, Northumberland Ferries has 8 scheduled trips a day.
A new radio station out of Lunenburg is turning up the volume on 2SL LGBTQ+ voices in rural Nova Scotia. Go Proud is a digital platform created to showcase artists and stories from that community. The CBC's Juliana Grillo reports.
In the scenic town of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, music from a new radio station is playing through the speakers, and it's all about pride.
Whether you're out, coming out, or just hanging out, you belong on Go Proud.
Go Proud is a brand new digital radio station created to spotlight 2S LGBTQ+ voices in rural communities. Alison Clements helped launch the project through her work at Go Rock, another radio station. A bisexual woman herself, she says it's all about countering hate with community.
We can use it to raise voices, lift each other up.
She partnered with Lunenburg County Pride, which now helps run the station, recommend local artists, and coordinate volunteers, while Go Rock provides the equipment and space that can remind the community of its power.
Incidents of discrimination has escalated so much over the past few years and emboldened hate groups who are against people in our community. So it's important for people to know that they do have a voice, and not only do they have a voice, we have the tools available to amplify those voices.
Go Proud plays a mix of 2S LGBTQ+ and ally artists, from global cult classics to homegrown talent. Some local artists they play include Pillow Fight, Like a Motorcycle, Future Girls, Skunk Motel, and more. It's all available free through their website and app. Next, they hope to introduce interview segments, starting with queer elders from the region.
Especially with today's current political climate, it's important to honor that history and to remember that history so that we know how much progress has been made and how much progress we still have left to do.
The station is still welcoming volunteers, and they hope interest in its broadcast will grow as Lunenburg Pride Parade approaches in July. Juliana Grillo, CBC News, Lunenburg.
An animal shelter in Dartmouth has a new addition, a rainbow bridge. The bridge at Bide a While leads to Trio's Place, a memorial garden for pets named after a cat who lived at the shelter for 23 years. Visitors can hang their mementos of their own pets on the bridge. And traditionally, the Rainbow Bridge is said to symbolize a place where pet owners will be reunited with their animals in the afterlife.
One of the largest judo tournaments in Atlantic Canada took over Cole Harbour this weekend with hundreds of fighters taking part.
The tournament organizer says the sport gaining popularity with youth in Nova Scotia.
This weekend is Numa Cup 2025. This is the 4th year we've done it, and it's a judo tournament in the Atlantic provinces. We get people from all over the Atlantics and starting to get people from Toronto, Montreal, and St. Pierre-Miquelon. We had this year 355 entries. So it's probably one of the strongest tournaments that we've had in a while.
I've been in judo forever. I was 4 when I started. I started at a club in Bridgewater with both of my sisters, actually. I have 2 sisters. And then as time went on, they fizzled off and I kept going. I think a big thing is you need to be mentally good. You need to be able to talk yourself up, support yourself. I'm my biggest competition. It's not anyone I fought today or I'll fight at Worlds. I am my biggest competition. So being able to talk to yourself, I think that's a good skill you need to have.
A lot of discipline, a lot of life lessons. Judo is not only a martial art or a sport, it is also a way of life. And I think parents realize that when they start putting their kids in the judo, and then they understand that how good it is for them.
Yeah, that's always a beautiful shot, isn't it?
Lovely evening.
Ryan is up next with the weather forecast. Stay with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, we're chatting during the commercial break there that for us in the Halifax area, we did break the wet weekend streak.
The streak, yeah, but not for everybody.
Not
though.
everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, North Shore definitely saw some heavier downpours coming in from that from the strait, and even the metro area. Actually, a couple of sprinkles up in my neck of the woods, but not right downtown in Halifax. That's right. So yeah, the streak continues of some sort of precipitation
you're gonna break
on a
it,
weekend.
right?
I feel like we're going to break it this weekend because it was every single weekend in spring, every single one. Yeah. But of course, this weekend coming is the first weekend of summer.
Turn the page.
Change, yes. Have a look at our webcam shot from tonight and just moments ago in Truro. And a beautiful evening out there, isn't it? Yes, fantastic. We'll take this all day, every day, and have a look at those temperatures out there right now. In and around the Truro region, it is 18 degrees. Antigonish is at 20. Halifax at 18. You can see the Tri-County area a bit cooler in those onshore winds. Same thing through the South Shore region, Cape Breton. It's a fine evening across the island as well. Winds, yeah, they've been a little on the breezy side today, and that has definitely made it feel still like it's mid-June. Yeah, it has that kind of feel to it, no question. We can see that some gusts upwards of 30 kilometers per hour right now. And where we've seen the clouds today is along the spine of the province. And overall, though, it has been really, really nice, really quiet. Now, as we back things out, what we're watching is this system here, and this frontal boundary, which stretches from the Labrador Sea all the way back down to the Manitoba-Ontario border, and then all the way down to the U.S. South. And the warm air is really building up ahead of this, and the mugginess as well. Look at the temperatures across the country right now. We're into the low 20s. Beautiful day in southern Alberta for the G7, and you can see Vancouver at 20 degrees, Toronto's at 22. Everybody pretty nice right now. Even St. John's, Newfoundland at 18 degrees, and the heat really on Phoenix at 43 degrees right now. Now, as we look at the temperatures for tonight across the province, generally in the 7 to 10 range. It'll be a bit milder toward the northeast and into Cape Breton, or we'll be into the double digits, or at least that's our best chance of some low double digits for tonight. It will be very quiet overnight into Tuesday. We'll see some cloud at times here and there, especially for Cape Breton, I think in the morning. But overall, it's going to be a mostly sunny Tuesday, and temperatures are going to be, yes, warming up quite nicely because of that. And Tuesday evening looking pretty quiet as well. So your forecast across Cape Breton tomorrow, bit cooler in the onshore winds, yes, but we'll be into the 20s as we work our way inland. That's a similar story across the mainland for tomorrow. Temperatures will be cooler. Metro area right around 20. We'll be into the 23, 24 range in and around Cobequid Bay, up towards Truro and through the valley. Temperatures looking nice and toasty there as well. Onshore winds a bit cool, and the coolest along the South Shore with that southerly flow. Okay, so as we walk you through into Wednesday, we are looking at some showers building in. Now, it looks like this particular model I'm showing you here is showing those showers kind of moving into eastern areas into the afternoon, but not so for Cape Breton. It's on an island. It's kind of the only one that's thinking that that's the case at this point. So we're just showing it to you in that there could be some change here over the next 24 hours. But right now, my forecast has the showers making their way about as far east as Truro and Halifax on Wednesday afternoon, and eastern areas and Cape Breton not until Wednesday evening. So we'll revisit this tomorrow, but the best chance for showers on Wednesday will indeed be in the west, and that is thanks to that area of high pressure again off to the east. But we'll again revisit that. Now Thursday, widespread clouds and showers on tap, and yes, we will be looking at those showers to continue into Friday. And there's the first weekend of summer, which is looking pretty good at this point. And the other notable thing this week is that, yes, with those showers building in and that air mass building in on Thursday, we're dusting off the old muggy meter for the first time. Not going to be truly tropical or anywhere near close to that, but we will feel it into the Thursday time period, and then it kind of falls away again toward the weekend. Tom and Amy.
All right, we'll get used to it. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture weighs in on why the industry hasn't turned a profit since 2016. Figures recently released by Statistics Canada show Nova Scotia's farming industry was in the red in 2024. It lost more than $41 million. It was the 8th consecutive year of losses, and Nova Scotia is the only province that has had farm losses so consistently over the past decade. Alicia King is with the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. Ms. King, most people would look at those numbers and think there's real trouble down on the farm. What do you say?
Well, I guess my first comment to that is some of those are not new numbers to us in the industry. And the other component to that is I would like to reflect on it a little bit and let everybody understand that I don't think we're a failing industry. Our industry is certainly stretched a bit thin at the moment, but we are hoping that we can work forward to that through an industry-led strategy that we at the Federation are hoping to pursue.
So why do you think the numbers are the way they are, at least over the last 8 years?
There's certainly lots of variables to that. It's complex. I mean, even when you just look at the industry that we have here in Nova Scotia, we have a very diverse agricultural community. So some of the things that can lead into that obviously are the increased costs that we have, the cost of fuel, fertilizer, insurances, feed. I mean, those are just obviously to name a few. I know as well as everybody else, we've had a lot of climatic issues as well that we've had to deal with. So I think all of those things combined are obviously leading to where these numbers are heading.
And if you look at some of the other provinces, and I'm thinking of PEI in particular here, they're dealing with those same extreme weather events, high insurance costs. A lot of the inputs are still super expensive there. And yet their numbers look much more positive. So what role does the kind of crops that we're growing here in Nova Scotia play in all of this, or is that to some degree a factor here?
Absolutely, that's a factor. So when you think of PEI, I'm assuming the first thing you're going to think of is the potato. So they crop, majority of their cropping is focused on the potato, and a lot of their farms are focused on potato production. And when we look here in Nova Scotia, we don't really have that one streamlined crop that we're looking at. So I'll take our own farm, for example. We farm beef, sheep, chicken, and eggs. So we've got lots of different variety, as do many of the farms that we represent with the Federation of Agriculture. So when you look at it that way, we've done that diversification piece simply because of the land that we farm, and also sometimes to spread that risk out over a multitude of different entities.
Yeah, it's not to say, and these numbers would not reflect the fact that within these numbers, there are some real sectors in the agricultural community that are doing quite well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've had I would say a very a huge spike in our cattle production and cattle receipts on farm lately as well. And when you look at some of those, there's a lot of cattle here in Nova Scotia. So that's certainly an industry that we can look at growing. There's others as well. And I think one of the things to look at too is when we look at the expenses that I alluded to earlier, one of the other pieces to consider is that we have increased our farm cash receipts as well. They just haven't increased at the same rate that our input costs have increased. So that's where we're seeing that shift in that net income piece.
And so should there be some hard thinking about the kinds of crops or livestock that we are producing and whether that should change?
Yes, but we also have to consider our area that we're farming in. There's certain crops that we're not going to be able to grow in certain areas of our province. If you go into Cape Breton, you're probably not going to see, if you go up into the highlands of Cape Breton, you're not going to see much corn production, and perhaps not much apple production. But when you head further down through Truro and into the valley, then the soil that's there, the heat units that are there, those sort of things are all factors in what it is that we grow. So we do have to look at and take into consideration the geographical piece to where it is that each and every one of us is farming.
Okay, and just quickly before I let you go, what would you like to see government do? The minister was on last week. We heard him saying words to the effect that he doesn't know exactly why. The Nova Scotia farm losses is great, and I mean everyone's trying to get a handle on it, I suppose. But what would you like to see from government?
I think one of the big things that we've asked as an industry is that we really need to focus on having an industry-led strategy. And at that point in time, when we have that, we'll be able to focus on the growth and competitiveness as well as the sustainability of our industry. And if it's done from an industry lens, obviously it can't be just a farmer that's sitting around the table. There's going to be farmers, there's going to be government, processors, distributors. There's so many people that have to sit around and have that conversation. But what we would be able to do then is get a real grasp on what the state of the industry is. Obviously determine what our key metrics are that we need to measure and in order to be able to determine success, set those targets, and then eventually we would have a roadmap that we'd be able to follow to get us to where we need to be.
All right, really appreciate this chat today. Alicia King of the Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Take care.
Coming up, U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered federal agencies to expand the detention and deportation of migrants.
And a Quebec casket maker is the only company in Canada to make coffins out of steel. So the U.S. imposed 50% tariff is hurting business. Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney is hosting the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta. Over 2 days, he will meet with leaders of some of the world's economic powers, including the United States.
Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump had a bilateral meeting before the wider summit started. Trump struck an optimistic note publicly, saying he believes the two leaders can reach a trade deal within weeks. Ashley Burke has more.
The G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership.
The Prime Minister tried to Trump-proof the G7, and for the most part it's working, but the President did launch into one attack about his perceived political enemies.
I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Judo didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that that was a mistake.
Donald Trump wrongly blamed Justin Trudeau. Stephen Harper was prime minister when Russia was expelled from the summit a decade ago.
The head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake.
But on trade and U.S. tariffs, some faint signs of progress.
I have a tariff concept, and Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person.
Trump optimistic, saying they can work something out.
Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Carney looked like he wanted to keep the moment brief.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president.
With that, media were moved out.
Let it go.
Out.
Goodbye, guys.
And the G7 officially began. Carney's hosting the summit for the first time. It's up to him to guide 2 days of talks in Kananaskis, Alberta, with some of the most powerful leaders in the world, as they face a trade war launched by one of their own G7 members.
So as I said, we're meeting at one of those hinge moments, those turning points in history.
With an ongoing war in Ukraine, escalating conflicts in the Middle East, and global tariffs, there's a lot for leaders to talk about. But it's also a chance for Carney to set the agenda on Canada's terms.
Carney says he wants to have frank discussions over the next few days and hopes to find consensus on some key issues. But with Trump already showing some signs of disagreement this morning, that may not be easy. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Banff, Alberta.
U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to deport thousands of migrants has come under fire, but he remains undeterred. In fact, he has ordered federal agencies to expand the detention and deportation of migrants across the country. Karen Pauls has more.
A weekend of protests across the U.S., anger over ICE raids targeting undocumented migrants, leading to clashes with law enforcement, including the National Guard. Undeterred, U.S. President Donald Trump posting on social media, he has directed ICE agents to do everything in their power to achieve the very important goal of delivering the single largest mass deportation program in history. The goal is at least 3,000 arrests a day, up from about 650 a day during the first 5 months of Trump's second term. To reach that goal, officials must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. Trump added he wants agents to focus on our crime-ridden and deadly inner cities and those places where sanctuary cities play such a big role. As he headed to Canada for the G7 summit, Trump doubled down, defending his decision.
So the protesters, if we didn't have the National Guard on call and ready, they would rip Los Angeles apart. They come and they check and they say, is the National Guard going to be there? And if the National Guard's being there, they don't even show up.
But at the same time, he's dealing with concerns over the impact these mass deportations are having on key industries that rely on these workers, including agriculture and hospitality.
The disruption and the fear that has been caused by the raids has really had a devastating effect and has been a body blow to our economy. I don't think the president understands that we have entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor.
People that are at work being productive are less of a concern than people that are, running the black market, illicit finance, sex trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking operations in the United States.
There are reports that ICE arrests on farms and in restaurants and hotels have been put on pause for now. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Washington.
The federal government has unveiled the Canada Strong Pass to promote domestic tourism this summer. It offers families free or discounted rates to natural and cultural attractions across the country. But as David Thurton reports, some worry about what more visitors means for fragile ecosystems.
Canada's national parks offer stunning views, but at a cost. Just in time for summer, the federal government is lifting those fees, introducing what the minister calls the Canada Strong Pass.
There's no need to register or get physical pass. Just plan your trip as you normally would, show up and enjoy the free access and discounts at participating locations.
Starting Friday and for the rest of the summer, the federal government is offering free admission to federal historic sites, parks, and marine conservation areas, and a 25% discount on Parks Canada camping fees. National museums are also free to anyone 17 and under.
So get there and explore Canada's national treasures, discover new places, enjoy unforgettable experiences, live your own Canadian adventure.
The announcement comes as travelers opt for staycations.
Absolutely. We decided we'd stay in Canada this year. We won't go to the United States.
It's definitely well-timed with the heightened sense of patriotism that we have right now.
But there are concerns about the influx of tourists and the impact they could have on the fragile ecosystems.
They should probably put like a limiter in terms of like how many people could enter, because people really do love free things.
Visits to some national parks have been increasing. With that comes increased vehicle traffic and wildlife encounters.
Because we've seen so many more people wanting to get out into nature, the park system that we have has been under stress.
But limiting access isn't the answer, according to this advocate.
It's important that, we don't look at that and say, well, we need fewer people in the parks. It's not that we need fewer people going to out into nature. It's that we need more nature for them to go out into.
The government is giving Canadians other opportunities to see the country, like by train. Via Rail is offering free passenger travel for those 17 and under once they're accompanied by a grown-up, and also discounted travel for young people. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
U.S. tariffs have hit many Canadian businesses hard. That includes a family business in Quebec that makes metal caskets. Sarah Levitt looks at the challenges the owners face as they try to stay afloat.
This is all part of the assembly line.
In the family business since 1990, Nicolas Lacasse devotes his time to making these metal caskets. Popular in Quebec and the United States, his company is the only one in Canada to make them. But with steel the primary material, he says he's never had to weather a storm quite like this.
The only way we can avoid the tariff in the United States and get back to the free trade is if my steel comes from a U.S. mill.
Like thousands of businesses across Canada, this company has had to seek out the least painful option. Option 1, keep buying Canadian raw steel and face a 50% tariff on the caskets going into the U.S. Option 2, buy American steel, eat the cost of the exchange rate, and pay the 25% counter tariff on the raw material.
Trump administration is charging me tariff, whatever I do, it's like it's trying to struggle me. And when I try to defend myself, it's like Canadians holding my hand, so I cannot even defend myself.
Imports and exports are going down as companies try to minimize the damage. More than 50% of Canadian companies hit by tariffs think they'll have a high to medium impact on business.
We are seeing a large number of companies take all sorts of aggressive steps to either cancel contracts, avoid shipping, or otherwise renegotiate pricing, for example, with their customers or their suppliers.
The cost of these metal caskets can't be passed on to consumers because American metal casket makers aren't raising prices and will poach clients.
Right now, it's only my cash flow that keeps me going, and we need to get help from government at least to avoid that 25% tariff. That's the only way we can make it survive at this point.
Just one of many niche companies making tough decisions as this trade war continues. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Magog, Quebec.
Ticks are showing up in more places and earlier in the season than ever before, and they are carrying the risk of disease. The CBC's Johanna Wagstaff looks at how climate change may be making matters worse, and public health experts say it's time to pay attention.
No one likes to see these little guys coming, but unfortunately, they're not just a summer problem anymore, and they're not just an Eastern Canada thing either. This year, you'll find them in more places, but not all ticks come with the same problems. Here's where to be on the lookout and what you need to know depending on where you live. So ticks used to hang out mainly in southern Ontario, but they're expanding their range, especially the black-legged lime-carrying variety. Now, they're in almost every southern province. Thanks to climate change, these 8-legged arachnids, yes, they're cousins of spiders, are moving north and west fast, around 50 kilometers per year. Warmer winters mean more ticks survive the cold. Ideally, it stays above 4 degrees for them. So longer springs and falls give them extra time to feed and breed. One well-fed female can lay up to 3,000 eggs. Plus, their hitchhiking hosts, deer, mice, birds, they're moving north too. This year, Eastern Canada had a mild winter and a damp spring, basically perfect tick weather. In places like New Brunswick, researchers are finding huge numbers of ticks.
Depending where you are, the percentage of ticks that are infected as you go further north, it can be as low as 15%. When you're the south, southern Ontario, southern Nova Scotia, middle of Nova Scotia, 70-80%. It's kind of appalling.
Okay, but here's the part that really gets me. They're basically crawling bags of pathogens. Lyme is the big one, but they can also spread other viruses too, sometimes multiple infections from just one bite. If you're in BC though, the picture is a little different. Ticks are on the rise, but Lyme rates have stayed low. Less than 1% of ticks tested carry that bacteria. That's partly thanks to different species, different hosts, and different vegetation here. It's a similar story across the southern prairies. Most ticks don't carry the virus, but numbers are climbing. So Canada doesn't track ticks nationally in real time, but apps like eTick show a clear spike in reports this year. It's not perfect data, but it's telling. People are noticing and uploading a lot. So what can you do? Stick to trails, wear long socks, check for ticks after you've been outside, especially on kids and dogs. And if you find a tick on you, basically a freckle with legs, don't panic. The tick usually needs to be attached for over 24 hours to transmit the disease. Use tweezers, grab the tick as close to your skin as possible and pull straight out. Clean the bite area, keep an eye on the bite site for rash or flu-like symptoms, and see a doctor if anything feels off. I leave you with very good news. One day soon, we hope to have a vaccine. Scientists are working on it. Until then, enjoy the outdoors, just be tick smart.
Hundreds of new trees are going in around a school in Summerside. Students at Athena Consolidated have been planting the trees and learning about climate change in the process. Nicola McLeod was there.
Athena Consolidated School is in a wide open field next to this busy road, and it's about to get a lot busier. But the school and STEAM PEI think they found a solution using these trees.
We are looking to cut down some of the noise from the roadway here beside Athena, and we're also looking to help provide some wind protection for the kids.
Do you find it's really windy at your school?
Yeah, it's super windy.
Students spent the day planting about 160 new trees and bushes on the property. They also got a little lesson about climate change and how planting new trees can help suck up greenhouse gases.
They talked about almost everything trees can do with. They talked about carbon dioxide. They talked about how we need energy, but it's making Earth the worst place. And it's just getting all warmer and warmer, and we don't want that.
I think climate change should get better because polar bears are suffering so bad right now, and that's so sad because they're so cute.
We're working on reforesting some of the property because it had a lot of trees before the school was created, and then they never really got planted back in again. So we're hoping to kind of leave a little bit of a legacy project for the kids who are students here, so that they can watch their kids grow as they grow through the school and then into adults.
They're going to do this again in the fall. By the end of the planting, there will be about 300 new trees on the property, including these sugar maples, which future students will hopefully tap for maple syrup.
It's amazing. Planting trees is a fun way to get outside. It feels great to help out and make this world a better place with everything we can do.
STEAM PEI says it also hopes to do this at other island schools. Nicola McLeod, CBC News, Summerside.
Well, a group of firefighting women made history recently at the St. John's Fire Department in Newfoundland.
For the first time in 130 years, an all-female crew was deployed. Peter Cowan has more.
For the 33 years Gina Burke has fought fires, she's used to being the odd woman out. But with her career coming to an end next year, there was one thing she wanted to accomplish.
We just said, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to get all the girls together? We're starting to get to a point now where we have enough girls that we'd be able to man a station.
For one day, in one station, there wasn't a man in sight. From captain all the way down to the most junior officer, it was all women.
It will be challenging. It's challenging in both aspects, just working with all men.
Burke is used to making firsts happen. She was the first female firefighter the St. John's Fire Department ever hired in 1992. She was the first female captain. But decades later, only 1 in every 10 firefighters are women.
I don't think we needed to prove to each other. I think it was more of a prove to people outside the department, maybe even some people in the department, that, that probably don't believe in women being in the male-dominated occupation.
There's still that old school mentality, that boys' club.
And they proved themselves in a busy shift with medical calls and even a house fire. And after decades of blazing a trail, there was pride that came in seeing women excel.
As soon as the girls got off the truck, I knew we were solid. Like, they just outperformed a great percentage of the men in the job. They gave more than I would even ask for, and I just have such a feeling of pride. It's unexplainable.
Gina Burke's only regret that this may not happen again before she retires next year. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
The weather update is brought to you by Tourisme Gaspésie. Plan your stay in Gaspésie at tourismegaspésie.com and enjoy extraordinary moments.
All right, imagine the first weekend of summer feels like summer. How appropriate would that be?
Perfect. You know, not muggy, because we're hitting the muggy meter earlier.
Early, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ryan, just hang on to it.
That's right. A little early. It's only Monday, but
Yeah.
right now looking optimistic in terms of that first weekend of summer and beyond as well. So, yes, have a look first at our viewer picture of the day. Always a sign of late spring and early summer. This one taken at Porter's Lake, and
the lupins.
They're out.
Lupins,
Full
they are
force.
out, and they're so nice. Janice Young with this terrific shot, nicely framed there with a nice rock in the background. Almost looks like mountains. But yes, thanks to Janice for sharing this. Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Okay, so for Tuesday, looking great. Temperatures. High teens, low 20s, closer to the Atlantic coastline in those onshore winds. And northern areas are going to be nicely into the low to mid 20s. And it should be a fine day overall with more sunshine than not. And then for Wednesday, things clouding up. And we'll start to see those showers marching into western areas first. You folks with the chances into the morning, central areas, the risk into the afternoon, and eastern areas, it looks like we'll hold off until the evening. Here's a quick rundown of that. And you can see as we look through Tuesday, lots of sunshine on the board. Here come those clouds building in for Wednesday. Showers in green on the western side of the province for Wednesday afternoon. And then you can see kind of fading away, but certainly the risk extending eastward into the late day and into Thursday when the clouds are going to dominate. And we'll look at a pretty good chance of showers with that mugginess peaking on Thursday. But you know, tolerable, and then fading off for Friday, those shower chances will, and fingers crossed for the weekend.
They
And
are
toast.
crossed.
Yep, everything.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Well, some seniors in Stratford PEI are excited to be back on the road again. Not in a car, though, on an e-bike.
Now, someone else drives the bike while the residents relax on a chair that's connected to the front. It's part of a program called Cycling Without Age. Each bicycle can carry up to 2 passengers on adventures.
It's designed to get people living in long-term care out and about, all while improving their mental and physical health.
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.